in the Gaza-Israel war, and I'm Yair Pinto reporting to you from Israel. The fighting continues on multiple fronts in the Gaza Strip and in the northern front in Lebanon and in Syria. In the past 24 hours, the Israeli Air Force has been conducting aerial operations to target Hezbollah missile launchers in Lebanon after they launched an attack against Israeli territory. According to the IDF, these attacks were just the beginning, and Hezbollah planned a massive missile attack that included hundreds of missiles that would have been fired simultaneously towards Israeli territory and caused a lot of damage. The IDF, together with the Israeli Air Force and artillery units, carried a preemptive strike that targeted all the locations from which Hezbollah can potentially fire the rockets towards Israel and neutralized the threat and prevented a way bigger missile attack. In another operation that the Israeli Air Force conducted in the heart of Lebanon, Israeli fighter jets identified two weapons convoys as they were disguised in civilian trucks. After striking the convoys, the explosion was huge, and Israeli intelligence units identified that these convoys included missiles that are capable of being fired from a long range and that have a huge explosive capability. In another front, in Syria, in a joint operation between the Israeli Air Force and the United States Air Force, Israeli F-35 planes were able to fly low beneath the radar with an assistance from the United States and identified a weapon stockpile that was delivered from Iran to Syria to be used by Hezbollah against Israel. The Israeli Air Force was able to neutralize the threat and destroy the weapon stockpiles and return home safely. These are just three examples of the Israeli Air Force capability in the north. In the Gaza Strip, IDF forces took control of most of Hamas's command positions and facilities in Gaza City. This doesn't mean that Hamas is not carrying out attacks against the IDF forces that are inside Gaza. It means that the attacks are becoming less organized and less coordinated. In one of these attacks, a Hamas terrorist launched a missile towards the IDF forces from one floor in a tall building. The IDF was able to send a drone that neutralized that floor only and didn't cause any damage to the rest of the building. After exploding on that floor, IDF snipers were able to identify and neutralize the Hamas terrorists that were stationed inside that building. In one of these incidents, the IDF destroyed a weapons factory belonging to Hamas, and in order to avoid civilian casualties from the explosion and the chemical reaction that took place surrounding that facility, the IDF risked its own soldiers in an attempt to evacuate the civilian population in that area. The fighting continues, but even though the IDF is controlling the northern part of the Gaza Strip, Hamas terrorists keep popping out of underground tunnels and hideouts and attack the IDF troops. This war is very complicated, and the Israeli soldiers are under constant danger while being there. On Friday evening, IDF conducted an undercover operation that targeted two Hamas terror cells that operated from the West Bank city of Shechem, which is located in Judea and Samaria. These terrorists attempted to carry out a terror attack in Jerusalem and used two vehicles to do so. In the raid, the IDF forces uncovered RPGs, guns, and axes that were hidden inside these vehicles. During this operation, IDF forces were able to neutralize the majority of the terrorists using snipers, while capturing the others that were taken for questioning in order to identify more terror plans against Israel. This fighting is very long and it involves all the areas of Israel, not just in the northern part and southern parts of the country. You can see that the West Bank and other areas surrounding Jerusalem and central cities of Israel are warming up, and the IDF is conducting huge amounts of operations to locate the terrorists before they carry out their attack. Every day we turn on the radio and we hear the names of fallen IDF soldiers. Some of them are only 20 years old, while others are above the age of 30 or 40, and this military service is part of their reserve duty. I call on all of you to please pray for protection for the IDF soldiers and for protection for their families